Welcome to my Autoethnology video, where I will highlight my identities and focus in on my most salient identities. Before this course began, I had never heard of autoethnology. Throughout this learning experience, I now feel very familiar with the term. Boylorn and Orb describe autoethnology as a useful method of working with topics of diversity and identity because it is predicated on the ability to invite readers into the lived experience of a presumed other and allow them to experience it viscerally. Experiencing it viscerally means that it encompasses deep inward feelings. An autoethnographic video should leave you feeling like you have a deeper understanding of the person the video is about. Autoethnology should not feel controversial. There is no debate. It is just raw footage of what an individual feels, thinks, and identifies with personally. Everyone's story is different, and autoethnographic video showcase those differences. Listed are the things about myself that I most identify with. I try to be transparent about my identities, and you will notice that all of them are not positive. I know that as human beings, we all have shortcomings. To give an accurate account of who I am and what I identify with, I have included some things about myself that could be developed. A few of those things are self-consciousness and an overthinker. You may also notice that the box that says either perfect should read either perfectly content and happy or frustrated. I do not usually have big emotions, and I am level-headed. I tend to be the type of person to think too much and not say enough, which can lead to frustration on my part. I would consider this an underdeveloped part of who I am. I am guessing that by looking at the photos, you can guess what my most salient qualities are. I was brought up in a middle-class home and in a Christian family. We honor Christian holidays. We went to church from time to time. I do not remember a time that I did not believe in God, but it wasn't until in my 20s when my children were born that I really started to seek out issues of faith. After becoming a mom, I realized that life was miraculous. This led me to think about creation, the world, life, and death. In my opinion, creation screams creator, and I wanted to know more about that creator. It was at this time that I began my search for truth in the matters of faith. As you may know, there are many different opinions about God and many different faith organizations. This search brought my husband and I to a deeper understanding of a relationship with God, not just religiosity. I still do not consider myself a religious person, but a person of faith. This journey led my husband and I to move our family to New York so that he could continue his education that would lead him right back to his roots. He became a pastor of a small community church where his great-grandparents settled in the same district that he went to school. I would like to think that when people ponder my salient qualities, that faith is one that would be mentioned first. I try to live out my faith in everything I do, not pushing it on others, but available to answer questions should anyone want to know. My faith has taught me true and genuine love and care for others. Through discussions and posts in this course, I have realized the importance of what acceptance, love, and caring for others can do in another human soul. Family is very important to me. I was born in Blytheville, Arkansas, while my mom and dad were stationed there. My father was in the Air Force at that time. This was my beginning. Shortly after that, my mom and dad moved back to Maine, where my father was stationed in Presque Isle, Maine. From there, we moved to Lisbon Falls. This is where I grew up. On the left side of the screen, you can see photos of my mom and dad. My father was discharged from the military and became the fire chief at the Brunswick Naval Air Station in Brunswick. I have a sister. You can see me with her on the left bottom. In the middle are my very precious grandchildren. Beside them are my two beautiful daughters. On the right side of the screen is my childhood home and primary school. My nanny and papa were my father's parents, and the bottom right were my mom's parents. Of course, in the middle is my husband and I. Family is everything, and my family is so loving, supportive, and always there for me. I am very blessed in this way. Loyalty is something that develops trust in relationships. It is something that is hard to achieve, but I feel is so important to pursue. Loyalty should be found everywhere: home, work, friendships, marriages, or any relationship. We live in a world where feelings are embraced so tightly that loyalty is forgotten sometimes. People gaslight others, lie and deceive to get ahead at work, in relationships, friendships, and marriages. So often, people forget that loyalty is part of integrity. So in my opinion, being a loyal person at all costs is super important to me. I want to be someone that strives to be loyal and trustworthy, but it rewards me inwardly, and that is more important to me. This slide captures my literature review, my salient qualities, which are faith, family, and loyalty. For a source for my Christian faith, I chose Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. He is a dynamic Christian writer, and he just has a way of explaining Christianity in a way that anyone can understand. Christianity is often misunderstood, but C.S. Lewis has a unique way of addressing the Christian belief system that leads many to a better understanding. It is my heart's desire that others get a true picture of what it means to be a Christian. I have a conviction that I should learn other people's understanding of who God is, and I have a desire for others to understand what my God is like. This book moves past the intellectual and moves deeper into those faith issues. The second book that I chose for family meant a lot to me with adult children, and it's just a piece of parenthood and a piece of family, but it strengthened those bonds that I have with my daughters. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that was very close, and my family is still very close. And my parents broke the cycle of abuse from their core families, and my sister and I are so blessed because of that effort. I have carried that desire into my own core family, and this is extended to my grandchildren. Having a healthy family with healthy boundaries creates confidence and security that enables people to be who they are meant to be. And raising adult children is very difficult, and this one just taught me, it may not always be what we think it's going to be, but it's what we make it. And then the third source that I chose was for loyalty, and it was a article, Why is Loyalty So Important? And this article just goes through the pros and cons of what loyalty is, and it discusses it. It talks about why it's important to be a loyal person, and it talks about friendships and families and peers, and it creates a safe space where emotions, good or bad, can be shared without fear of ridicule or judgment. It goes over those very important things. And it also allows for constructive criticism that drives us toward growth. And if you have a loyal friend, hopefully you are able to have that constructive criticism too and really listen to it and embrace that. Loyalty suggests that other people's feelings are considered as just important as your own. I have a loyal friend who has taught me the value of working hard to establish strong bonds. And this is why I strive to be a loyal person in every aspect of my life. These are just a few examples of how I saw issues of disability depicted in media. The first photo is a movie I watched called Marry Me with Jennifer Lopez. The picture to the left is a scene where Jennifer Lopez is teaching a classroom how to dance to one of her songs. This particular scene is one where a student with disabilities, shown by the leg braces, gets in the middle of the group and dances. This shows that Hollywood does have a concern for people with disabilities. The next photo, which would be the bottom left, is one that I saw while scrolling on Facebook, and I noticed while taking my own personal field notes as well. I noticed that Hannaford has a very high counter in his taped off area that you have to stand in that would make it very difficult for someone in a wheelchair to maneuver and access. So as I was scrolling through Facebook, I also found that this woman, which I withheld her name, I deleted that information, noticed that the pharmacy that she was at was in the back of the store with no motorized wheelchair or wheelchair of any kind to help people with disabilities access the pharmacy. So when she asked the manager, she was told there was no room to store the wheelchair. This is an example of inequity. People with disabilities should have easy access to things as non-disabled people do. The middle photo, in the middle of the screen there, is regarding Neil McDonough. He's a Christian actor who has the conviction that he will not kiss anyone other than his wife in movies. His personal conviction cost him many opportunities in the filmmaking industry. This is an example of marginalization of a person because of his belief system. We do not need to understand or even agree with someone's beliefs. However, we should never judge simply because we do not believe the same. On the right is my personal favorite, and I chose this to show empathy and compassion, and that is my adorable granddaughter, Iris. If you ever wonder if littles can show empathy and compassion, I am here to tell you that yes, they can. 1 week after school got out this year, I ended up with a protruding disc and 3 bulging discs, causing severe sciatica. My sciatic nerve was pinched, causing numbness and weakness in my leg, and the pain was unbearable. Funny timing that it was during this course that gave me a whole new appreciation for people that have disabilities regularly and have a hard time getting around. I did experience that personally this summer. I don't really want to do this again. It's not been very fun. The picture of my granddaughter is her supporting me while doing my physical therapy exercises, which was the back decompression. She taught me that sometimes just coming alongside someone, not saying a word, but listening and being a warm body can make all the difference in a person's countenance. And children are just so special. And she's one of those special children to me. This chart shows how our identities, culture, and lived experiences shape and influence our interaction with the world. You can see that number 1 are your identities and relationships. This is at the core of who we are and why we are who we are. Childhood experiences, young adult relationships, all play a part in who we are. From these relationships, we form our identities. We are shaped by our families and relationships. They play a huge role in who we are. I was brought up in a middle-class, traditional, conservative Christian family. You better believe that those factors help shape who I am. For a time, I struggled with those ideologies, and as a teenager, I rebelled. But as I grew, I began to see the value in what I was taught. From there, I began to form my identity. This would be number 2, the gold part on the chart. The culture around me has influenced me more toward my belief system. It has taught me that the world around me is not as black and white as my thinking can be. I've embraced the fact that seeking to understand people means accepting who they are. That does not mean that I need to affirm every action, but I can love, encourage, and be available to walk alongside of them if they need a friend. My salient identities of faith, family, and loyalty lead me to become a stay-at-home mom when my children were little. I homeschooled my children for a little while. This love of family and my desire to give my daughters an upbringing that would give them independence, confidence, strength, and integrity led me to become a teacher. As you can see, my identities then guided me to my career, which would be number 3, the purple. Through this journey, I thought a lot about why teaching was not one of my salient identities. I reflected on this quite a bit, and then I realized that although I love teaching, it is not a solid identity for me. It is a default identity, but not who I am. Finally, number 4 is where reflection, growth, and acceptance of who we are cemented. That would be at the bottom, the orange, number 4. At this time in my life, I know who I am, I'm comfortable with my identities, and I know where I need to grow. It is a phase of life that is peaceful and comfortable. This is where I have found my peace. I know that I still have areas of growth, but that's okay with me. I choose to work on the things that I need to work on one at a time, and I know that I will never achieve my full potential here on earth, but the journey is worth every effort that I make. This is how my identities, culture, and lived experiences have shaped and influenced my interaction with the world. And these are my references, and I just want to thank you for watching my autoethnology video today.